Namo Buddhaya, Namo Amitabha. Hello everyone. So last video we talked about the 4 stages of enlightenment in Theravada Buddhism, and in today's video I'd like to discuss the 52 stages of enlightenment in Mahayana Buddhism. So the 52 stages are: first, 10 stages of faith, 10 stages of dwelling, 10 stages of practices, 10 stages of transfer, 10 stages of grounds or Bhumis. So each of these 10 stages contain 10 stages of enlightenment, which adds up to 50 stages of enlightenment. And then the 51st stage being equal enlightenment. This is the highest level of enlightenment for bodhisattvas, such as Bodhisattva Guanyin, Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, Bodhisattva Manjushri. They are the 51st stages of enlightenment. And then the 52nd being wonderful enlightenment, which is the final Buddhahood. So if you're interested in what each of this stage comprise, you can go and read the sutras such as the Jiawen Necklace Sutra, the Bramajala Sutra or the Brahma-net Sutra, and the Avatamsaka Sutra. So in this Mahayana Sutras, it discusses each of the stages in detail. And we won't go into it in detail today, but we'll just talk more about it in general. So the 4 stages of enlightenment in Theravada Buddhism, they are only equivalent to a very basic level of enlightenment in Mahayana Buddhism. So for Sotapanna, which is a stream enterer, the first level of enlightenment in Theravada Buddhism, this is equivalent to the first stage of faith in Mahayana Buddhism. And then there is the path to Sakadagami, one's returner. This is equivalent to the second level of enlightenment, the second stage of faith in Mahayana Buddhism. And then the Sakadagami, which is one's returner, is equivalent to the third stage of faith. And then there's the path towards Anagami, non-returner, 4th stage of faith. And Anagami is the 5th stage of faith. And then there's the path to Arahant, 6th stage of faith. And then Arahant is the 7th stage of faith. So Arahant is the highest level of enlightenment in Theravada Buddhism, in Shavaka. But this is only equivalent to the 7th stage of faith in Mahayana Buddhism. And then we have Pachaka Buddha, those who observe the 12 links of dependent origination and realize enlightenment without the need of the Buddha. They are like the 8th stage of faith. These are still just very basic level of enlightenment in Mahayana Buddhism. But the difference is that the bodhisattvas, they generate bodhicitta. They have the mind that they aspire to realize Buddhahood and to help save sentient beings, whereas the arahants, they do not generate bodhicitta. So bodhicitta is the hallmark for bodhisattvas. So for an arahant, they have completely cut off all the delusional views and perceptions which allow them to transcend the cycle of reincarnation. But this is not the end yet. They have no attachment to the self or anything pertaining to the self, but they still have attachment to the Dharma. Dharma means all phenomena. They understood that the self is empty of inherent existence, but they don't really understand that not only the self, in fact, all dharmas are empty of inherent existence. All dharmas, all material phenomena, everything is empty of inherent existence, which means there is no permanent fixed self-nature attached to it. All dharmas arise due to causes and conditions. All dharmas disappear due to causes and conditions. Whatever has causes and conditions attached to it, all these are emptiness of inherent existence. They're constantly changing due to the various causes and conditions. So there's no permanent fixed self-nature attached to it, hence emptiness in nature. Even the so-called Buddha Dharma, in the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha told us that the Buddha Dharma is a tool to help us cross to the other shore, to arrive at the shore of liberation, the shore of nirvana. But once when one arrives, one is also not attached to the Buddha Dharma, not attached to the boat. You're not gonna carry the boat with you and then go and walk on the other shore. But this to us is very far away. Now we are still at the shore of suffering, at the shore of samsara. We still need to be attached to the boat. We need to be attached to the Buddha Dharma. We need to be attached to the name of Amitabha Buddha to help us arrive at the other shore, the shore of Nirvana, to help us attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. So now we still do need to be attached to the Buddha Dharma. We need to be attached to Nirvana. But in the end, even the state of the so-called Nirvana, Nirvana is also a name devised by the Buddha to use to describe the state of non-attachment and non-separation, the state of no birth and no death. But this state is not to be attached. Okay, in the end, one is not attached to the so-called Nirvana. So it's called non-abiding Nirvana. The Bodhisattvas, they arrived at Nirvana without being attached to Nirvana, and they will also come into samsara, enter the dreams of the sentient beings to help save sentient beings. Okay, we're really talking about highly advanced bodhisattvas, which to us we're still very far away. We're not even enlightened yet. We're not even at the state of Sotapanna yet. We still have attachment to the self, attachment to all kinds of things. So this is very far away from us. Even if we want to understand the theory of emptiness, one cannot really actually realize emptiness. The Arahants, they are attached to the state of enlightenment. They are also attached to the very little Dharma that they know of. So they want to dwell in the state of nirvana, and they do not want to come back into samsara to help save sentient beings. Whereas for the bodhisattvas, they understood that all dharmas are empty of inherent existence. To the highly enlightened bodhisattvas, there is no difference between samsara and nirvana, because wherever they go, it's nirvana. Their state of mind is nirvana. They clearly understood the dharma of non-arising, no birth and no death is nirvana. Even if they are in samsara, it is still nirvana for them. And everywhere they go is the pure land, because their mind is so pure. But this is only to the very high level of enlightened bodhisattvas. For us ordinary beings, we cannot really say that. To us, samsara is samsara, nirvana is nirvana. To us, the saha world, this suffering world is not really the pure land, as we are still subject to all kinds of sufferings, all kinds of afflictions. So for us, we cannot really say that, because we're not enlightened yet, let alone to say highly enlightened, enlightenment to the stage of non-regression. For highly enlightened bodhisattvas who realize emptiness, they can perceive things as they are without attachment and separation, and hence they can come back into samsara. Samsara is like a delusional dream by the sentient beings, stemmed from ignorance. They can enter into the dream of sentient beings to help save sentient beings and to use skillful means to establish enlightened activities here, so to rescue sentient beings out of the cycle of reincarnation. Whereas the arahants, they are incapable of doing that due to their limited knowledge of the Dharma. But eventually, in Mahayana Sutras, the Buddha told us that for the arahants, they will dwell in their state of enlightenment. Some, maybe they will quickly realize, this is not the end yet. They should generate bodhicitta to be like the bodhisattvas, to help save sentient beings, not just to dwell in the state of bliss. The maximum amount that they will dwell is 20,000 kalpas, a very long time. But some will realize it sooner. In the Lotus Sutra, the Buddha told us that the state of Arahant is like an illusory capital that Buddha transformed for beings to rest and recuperate. One must not abide in there forever. They will also not abide in there forever. They will be bodhisattvas and Buddha to go and tell them, hey, don't just dwell in this state. There are still countless sentient beings waiting for you to help save. What's the use of one's enlightenment if one cannot help save sentient beings? So the state of Arahant is not the end. Very, very far from it. Eventually, Arahants will also have to generate the unsurpassed bodhicitta to practice the bodhisattva path and to help save sentient beings so they can eventually realize the final Buddhahood. So for Arahants, they cut off all the delusional views and perceptions, but they have not cut off the afflictions of dust. So our afflictions are like dust and they're really countless. The Arahants, they have cut off their heavy afflictions which allow them to transcend the cycle of samsara, but they still have habitual tendency. It's like a bottle where the wine has been emptied out, but there is still the smell of the wine. They have habitual tendency, they still have separation of samsara and nirvana. To the bodhisattva, highly enlightened bodhisattvas, there is no difference between samsara and nirvana. Wherever they go, because their mind is so pure, wherever they go, it's like the pure land. And the bodhisattvas, they have also got rid of the more subtle afflictions, whereas the arahants, they still have the subtle afflictions that they cannot get rid of. And also the arahants, they do not know so many dharma gates, unlike the bodhisattvas. That's why they do not have skillful means to help save sentient beings. Where for highly enlightened bodhisattvas, they will understand more of the dharma gates and they can devise skillful means to help save sentient beings in accordance to their different capacities. And they also have not gotten rid of the fundamental ignorance, the beginningless ignorance, not the ignorance in the 3 realms or the 6 realms, but the fundamental beginningless ignorance. And someone asks, who created the universe? The Buddha told us in the Mahayana Sutra, it's done by a thought of ignorance. This is the fundamental ignorance, the beginningless ignorance. Only a Buddha can completely get rid of that. Even for highly enlightened bodhisattvas, due to the slightest tiny bit of ignorance which prevent them from realizing the final Buddhahood. So why the Buddha told us to attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land? Because once one attains rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, one can quickly realize enlightenment to the stage of non-regression, which are Avaivadika bodhisattvas. So in the Amitabha Sutra, the Buddha told us that those who attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land will all be Avaivadika bodhisattvas, and amongst them, many are at the stage of 1 lifetime replacement. So the 1 lifetime replacement is equal enlightenment, at the highest level of enlightenment for bodhisattvas. They just have 1 last lifetime before they realize Buddhahood, such as Maitreya Bodhisattva currently in the Tusita heaven, his last lifetime as a bodhisattva in the Tusita heaven, and then he will come down to our world to become the Buddha. So Avaivadika means non-regression. 3 things a bodhisattva will not regress. First is the position of sagehood. They have already entered into the sagehood and they will not fall back as an ordinary beings, such as a Sutapana, string enterer. They will not fall back from the position of enlightenment. And second is the bodhisattva practices. They will not regress in their bodhisattva practices. What are the bodhisattva practices? Such as the 6 parameters that we talk about, and also the 10 great practices and vows of Bodhisattva Samattabhadra. So for the bodhisattvas, they will not regress in their bodhisattva practices to help save sentient beings. And third is they will not regress in the thoughts of helping to save sentient beings. So for some junior levels of bodhisattvas, although they may not be regress in their bodhisattva practices, in helping to save sentient beings, in that they were always performing the acts to help save sentient beings, but they can still regress in their thoughts. Today, I want to help save sentient beings. Tomorrow, I don't want to help save sentient beings. And then eventually, again, they will perform the act to help save sentient beings. But they can regress in their thoughts. But the three non-regressions are no regression in the position of sagehood, no regression in the bodhisattva practices, and no regression in the thoughts of saving the sentient beings. They will never regress. In each and every moment, all their thoughts are thinking about how they can best help save sentient beings, how they can quickly realize Buddhahood and to help save sentient beings. So these are called the non-regression bodhisattvas, avaivatika bodhisattvas. So the minimum level of an avaivatika bodhisattva is at the first stage of dwelling, and to be completely non-regress, it's above the seventh stage of ground. The eighth stage of ground is called the unmovable stage. They will never regress, complete non-regression, extremely high level of enlightenment. So why so many beings, including bodhisattvas, they want to attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land? This is reflected in the practices and vows of Bodhisattva Samadabhadra. Even for enlightened bodhisattvas, they still want to attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. And not only for us ordinary beings, also highly enlightened bodhisattvas, because this can largely shorten their time to realize Buddhahood. This will help them to fast track towards the final Buddhahood. For someone to practice by themselves, just relying on their self-effort to realize Buddhahood, it will really take incalculable eons. Usually it's said 3 great asankhya kalpas and plus 100 kalpa to realize Buddhahood. So how they calculate this time? It's from the first stage of dwelling. So they don't even count the time from the 10 stages of faith, because these are just like junior bodhisattvas. These are actually called bodhisattva of convenience. They're not really the real bodhisattvas here. It's like the kindergarten bodhisattvas. They only start to count the time from when they arrive at a stage of non-regression, first stage of dwelling. It's from the first stage of dwelling, the first 10 stages of dwelling, and then the 10 stages of practices and 10 stages of transfer. So this 30 stages, it will take 1 great asankhya kalpas. From the first 10 stages of faith, it could even take more, incalculable kalpas to arrive there. And then from the first stage of ground to the 7th stage of ground, the first 7th stage of ground, this will be the 2nd great asankhya kalpas. And then the 8th stage of ground, the 9th stage of ground, and the 10 stages of ground. This will be the final asankhya kalpas. And then equal enlightenment, the highest level of enlightenment for bodhisattvas. From there to final Buddhahood. So this time is dependent. Some can take a very long time, because for some bodhisattvas, they're not hurried to realize the final Buddhahood. They want to remain in the position of the bodhisattvas to help save sentient beings, such as Guan Yin, such as Manjushri, such as Samadabhadra. In fact, all of them, they have long ago realized Buddhahood, but again, they chose to come back to be bodhisattvas to help save sentient beings. Because some sentient beings, they like bodhisattvas, and hence they appear in the position of the bodhisattva to help save sentient beings. And then the 100 kalpas is when they're really going to become a Buddha. They will take another 100 kalpas to make sure that they have all the 32 great marks of the Buddha. For instance, when Shakyamuni Buddha come into our world, he has all the 32 great marks, and then beings know that, wow, this is not an ordinary being. He's like a Buddha who comes down to help save us. So if we were to rely on our self-effort to realize enlightenment and the final Buddhahood, this will really take incalculable
kalpas. Asankhya also means incalculable. But if we were to attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, this will really help us to fast track our enlightenment. Due to Amitabha Buddha's great vows, one and ordinary beings, we can attain rebirth in the Pure Land, faith, vow, and name for, and practice, we can attain rebirth. And there we can quickly realize enlightenment to the stage of non-regression. So only when one arrives at the level of enlightenment to the stage of non-regression to be an Avivtika Bodhisattva, and one has the ability to be in all the worlds in the 10 directions to help 6 sentient beings, because one will never fall back from them on, and one will just naturally progress towards the final Buddhahood. So that's why the Buddha highly encouraged us to first attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. This is the easiest way for us to transcend the cycle of reincarnation without the need to first realize enlightenment. And when one arrives in the Pure Land, one will be able to realize enlightenment to the stage of non-regression quickly, and even enlightenment to the final Buddhahood. So I hope this helps. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Amitabhaya.